Hello friends, good afternoon. And today we have a very important distinguished guest from DRDO, led by Dr. Prateek Kishore, whom I have seen him growing in DRDO. He has done so much in terms of the scientific contribution, technological the development which he has done in DRDO. And now today he is outstanding scientist. And this he has achieved within 3 decades. His fast growth I have been able to see. And a person who is now leading a very strategic lab, TBRL, Terminal Ballistic Research Laboratory, which covers almost all strategic areas, missiles, projectiles, and also testing the fuses, warheads. So all that, this lab is a very vital, critical, and also strategic lab.
What do you call it?
And this lab is also the largest area. Come, just here.
Yes.
Here.
Pardon me. Sorry. Hello, how are you?
He is the DG for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Army
I went to
Teaching
TBRL when I was a young man. Joined the army
Oh, sure. Now you should have
in 70s. How are you? Good afternoon.
He was the commandant of the Defense Services Staff College.
Okay.
Wellington. That was his last appointment. And he is very close to all chiefs, CDS, all those.
Thank you.
Because he has been a veteran for a long time in this. So he knows many people.
Sorry.
Okay. So you are meeting your vice president tomorrow.
I'm meeting my students.
So just to give a little background about his education. So thank you, General Sir. Deputy General VK, our Sharma ji is there, VK Sharma. And he is the Pro-Chancellor in Amity University, Madhya Pradesh, Gwalior.
Thank you very much, sir.
And he was commandant of the Hyderabad, what is that?
MCT.
MCT. Wow. Hyderabad. So, now the capacity building. Now he has headed that lab and also the university, the Amity University, Madhya Pradesh in Gwalior, and he has built right from the beginning. And also we have Wing Commander Anil Kumar, who is now the Pro Vice Chancellor of Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, but we have a branch in Lucknow, campus in Lucknow, and he heads that as the Pro Vice Chancellor. And
Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to Amity University, Uttar Pradesh.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you.
So others have also joined from other campuses. So we have invited other vice chancellors also. They will be seeing it, your lecture and so on. So Dr. Prateek, he graduated from the mechanical engineering from Birla Institute of Technology, BITS, which is one of the very popular technology institute in Ranchi. Then he went in production engineering from Punjab Technical University. And he also obtained an MBA degree. Then he has joined TBRL right from the beginning, 1991. So look at journey of about 32 years. He has been at TBRL. And so he is now outstanding scientist. There is only one level up, distinguished scientist, which he is likely to assume the responsibility maybe next year. So, because he has been 5 years outstanding scientist. And above all this, a person who has contributed not only in the lab, but also in the corporate sector, in the headquarters, DRDO headquarters, and he has been director of planning, projects, project management, planning, coordination. It's a very vital for all the 50 laboratories. That is the project planning, coordination. So that he has headed. And so he has also been in the other management, project formulation and management is one of the very important initiatives he took in the corporate headquarters. This is helps to monitor the different programs because DRDO has got many strategic programs, tactical programs, basic R&D programs. So he has developed a system to evaluate, monitor, assess their progress, like your dashboard. He has been developed a very important system for monitoring. He has also been the director, program director for missiles. Missiles is one of the core areas where DRDO has developed Agni, Prithvi, Akash, Nav, Trishul, BrahMos, interceptor missile, Shaurya, and so many missiles. So he has been coordinating from the headquarters. So such a very important person is with us, and he is also academic oriented. So he has published more than 50 papers, and he has got patents to his credit. And he also represented DRDO during MTCR, that is Missile Technology Control Regime. He represented our country in Paris meeting. He also led the DRDO BDL delegation to Vietnam, and many, many more accomplishments. And he has been also recognized by many awards. One of them, the very most prestigious, is Scientist of the Year Award. The other is Young Scientist Award. Then there is one award for path-breaking research. So he has also been awarded the DRDO Path-Breaking Research Award for his wonderful work that he has done, particularly in the area of design and development of shaped charge, the explosively formed penetrator warheads which can penetrate the armor of the tanks and other armors, and also system engineering. So these are his core areas. When we requested him that we want to build a strong partnership with TBRL, he immediately said yes, because he knows the strength of all of you. Because he knows AK Singh is here, General Garyuk is here, Neeraj is here, and all the very distinguished scientists of Amity. More above all, our founder president, I talked to him about him. He's PhD in chemical engineering, and he has been in Germany for 28 years. So for him, innovation is his life. So his photograph is there. So he was the largest non-European investor in Europe, in Germany, when the reunion took place between East and West Germany. And then he came back, invested in education, research, innovation, and philanthropy. These are the four verticals in which he invested all his savings, as well as his knowledge, expertise, experience, and the culture which he had over there. Best of it he brought to Amity. So he has founded this with only a vision that we have to create a happy world, healthy world, prosperous world, and which is the main the motive of Dr. Chauhan. And so we have now 12 universities in India, 18 campuses abroad, 28 schools, 200,000 students, 10,000 faculties, 5,000 PhD scholars. So he has created this all in 2 decades, two and a half decades. So that is why, he is a miracle man. And he is, even now at this age of 81, he commits himself for about 18 hours a day. So that is the type of commitment, passion for nation building, humanity development. So we are blessed to be guided, led by such a great soul, Dr. Ashok Chauhan. And also he is supported by his chancellors. All his family, AKC family, is involved in supporting this mission, his to realize his vision. Like Mrs. Amita Chauhan looks after all schools, in India and abroad. Similarly, the preschools, nurseries is looked after by his daughter, Sapna ji. And then his chancellors, Dr. Atul Chauhan, who is a product of London School of Economics, and Dr. Asim Chauhan, a product of Wharton Business School. Amol Chauhan is a product of Harvard. So such people are governing. So here the ecosystem itself is vibrant in terms of academics, research. We have filed more than 2,060 patents, and more than 260 patents are granted, but it takes long time. And then 40,000 research papers in journals of repute. Our people here and those who are not here, they have published across the campuses. Our H index is today 136. So we are moving up. Even though it's a young university, we are just 18 years young. Dr. V.K. Mona Lisa, your seat is there. So this university is growing, and one important thing which Dr. Chauhan wants is we have to be a major contributor to defense. It's in all dimensions to defense, because defense is playing a vital role in comprehensive national security. So that is why that Chauhan's passion is for defense. So many people, senior people like him, Brigadier Tiwari, Rajan Bakshi, so many sir, Admiral Kocher, Air Commodore D.K. Singh, and General V.K. Sharma. So senior people are employed, and also young people like Rajan Bakshi. And also he is about 40 of the service officers are doing PhD here. We brought them out of the So like this, we are giving a focus for national security in a big way, not only by employing them who are contributing for everything, but also exposing our students to go for a military camp. So every student has to undergo 1 week military camp to have a feel of the prestige of uniform, their life. They live in tents. Then we have started Amity Military College for men and women. That is another defense requirement. And then we have a SSB Academy, which grooms the students for getting into Army, Navy, Air Force. We have given more than 400 the officers to the Army, Navy, Air Force. So this is on the services side. And on the technology side, we have Amity Institute of Defense Technology. It is the first university which started an exclusive institute. There is no other place where an institute of defense technology exists. We should be the first one, and in the technology development, we should be also number one. So we have the Amity Institute of Defense Technology, headed by Neeraj. Then in this, we are now currently running MTech Defense Technology, and which is 2 years, of which 1 year is done in the laboratory, DRDO lab. Some of them will be coming to you as well. And also some of them are going to the industry, defense industry, like Bharat Forge, L&T, Tata, Mahindra, all those Paras, all those defense industries. So it's a very unique program which you have designed in DRDO, and we are executing. We are the largest number, more than 100. The students are passing out, passed out, and placed also very well. So this is on the defense technology. We have kept 7 verticals. One is the combat vehicles, aerospace, naval systems, direct energy weapon, high energy materials, sensors and communications, AI and cyber security. These are the 7 verticals. Then we have a very strong AI Center of Excellence in Artificial Intelligence, Dr. M.K. Datta, whom you mentioned, that center. So we have invested huge, 10 petaflops of the facility, and the computational capability is very high. So we would like to offer the AI contributions in your R&D. So that is another one. And we have people like Dr. V.K. Jain, who is heading the materials, devices, and also sensors. He's a sensors man, infrared, semiconductors, so on this domain we have. So like that, they will introduce themselves. So we are very fortunate to have not only Prateek, Kishore, but his very distinguished delegation, Dr. T.M. Our Soni. He has been working with Amity University Haryana in a big way for a long time, including Director TBRL. And then also all the very distinguished scientists whom I have known. I have worked with them, and it is my pleasure to welcome all of you here. And we have a very distinguished galaxy of senior people whom I have invited, requested them to interact with you, because they are the ones who will drive this collaboration, the MOU which we are going to sign today, which is a gold mine. It's a big treasure for us. How do we mine and then contribute to the country, the security, but also defense technology depends on us. So they're all waiting here eagerly to listen to you and also learn that how we can connect with you. And I'm so grateful to you that you found time to come in person. But we also suggested we can go as a delegation to his lab to sign the MOU, but he said, no, we will do it here in your lab. I want to meet your people, visit the lab. So thank you so much. And then he is also connected with Amity University Haryana, working closely with the materials group there. And so he has visited a couple of times over there. So I have met him there also. So this is a great occasion for us to expand, deepen our contributions to the defense sector through our collaboration through this MOU. This MOU has got a very broad scope. As conventional, that first is R&D. Because now the DRDO has been mandated, as well as DRDO has created the culture to engage with and work with academia. So this gives a provision for expanding Amity as a major contributor from the academic and R&D endeavors as an institutional academic research partner. The second part is that we can have PhD, joint PhDs, mentored. They do the works, choose the topic from Amity School of Engineering and Technology or Amity Institute of Nuclear Science and Technology or Space Science and Technology, Aerospace Engineering, so or Defense Technology. So we can have joint PhD mentoring. That is also in the scope. Then we can also have them as adjunct faculties. They can come and take a few classes. And similarly, you can go there, work with them in their laboratories. They have beautiful laboratories, state of the art, the world class laboratories. And then they are also looking for basic futuristic research to emanate, to be needed from academia. But they are busy with making the system for today and as well as tomorrow. But what about day after tomorrow and years to come? So the futuristic technology, we should tell them that, why don't you look at this? So they are also looking for this partnership to look at emerging technologies, disruptive technologies to come through this partnership. So we have a lot of expectation, and this is a very, very important milestone for Amity Group that we are signing a very important, with a sensitive lab of DRDO, the TBRL. And so I'm so grateful for our secretary, DRDO, and also your directorate of ERIPR, as well as the Dr. Kishore, Prateek Kishore, and the whole team who has come and who has facilitated this to happen. Because there's a lot of channels through which you have to go through to have a MOU with the defense and DRDO. But they have all done that. So today we are going to sign. So I welcome all of you once again for this. I would now request our honorable guest, our Dr. Prateek Kishore, outstanding scientist, director of the Terminal Ballistic Research Laboratory, TBRL. This is a very important lab of DRDO. So over to you, Dr.
So thank you very much, sir. And it's actually my pleasure that I had the opportunity to work with Selvamurthy sir in the formative year of my career. And thank you very much for your mentoring actually at that stage. So it's all because we had seniors like you in the organization that we could do something for the organization. Again, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Before we start, I would just like to introduce my colleagues who have joined me today here. Me here is Dr. P.K. Soni. He's Associate Director, Scientist G, and he is an expert in explosive materials and technologies, processing of explosive materials. And next to him is Dr. Pal Dinesh Kumar. He is a mechanical engineer and expert in manufacturing and test and evaluation of ballistic systems. I would be coming, and they have a presentation by themselves, so they would be describing the possible area of collaboration with their respective area. Dr. Indrapal Sandhu, he is a physicist, and he has got a huge amount of experience, very vast experience in the field of blast monitoring, and also the test and evaluation of armament systems in a static mode, in the arena test layout mode, including a free air blast and underwater blast. And Mr. Vijay Kumar, he is a mechanical engineer. He is specialized in fuse technologies, material models, basically for the fuse technologies, and also for the blast resistant structures, which includes the monitoring of the blast pressure, temperature, sense, and all other parameters, and then designing the structure for its mitigation. As I'd just like to introduce, I think I have already had an opportunity to talk about TBRL earlier, but just for the completeness, I'll just reintroduce what we do in TBRL. You might be aware that DRDO has 7 technology clusters, and we belong to the Missiles and Strategic Systems cluster in DRDO. The Missiles and Strategic System cluster is headquartered at Hyderabad, and we operate from Chandigarh. We have a technical area in a place called Ramgarh, which is about 22 kilometers from the main city, Chandigarh. There, the range is it's a mix of plain versus hilly land. It gives us natural protection against when we do all kinds of static evaluation and explosive based evaluation. I think some of you might have visited, as General Sir has suggested that he had visited in his younger days. Maybe now if you visit, I'm sure that you will find a lot of landscape change now. Keeping pace with time, we got established way back in 1961 in Delhi, then moved to Chandigarh, and this range got commissioned in 1966. Formally inaugurated in 1968. So the first activity that took place in the range was in March of 1966. And it was primarily created as a test and evaluation center, as well as the design and development, test and evaluation of armament systems, as well as its design and development. So initial years, as a formative year for the organization, we were more focused on the test and evaluation part, because that is one very good way of learning. You get huge amount of experience, huge amount of data, which helps you in compressing your development timeline. You are very well aware that in an R&D field, and more so in a defense R&D field, the mortality rate is pretty high, extremely high. And therefore, in order to have the capability for indigenous development, you must know how the systems work. It always looks very easy that, what I get from outside is a pretty good system. See, it has come to a pretty good system, having burnt their fingers like anything for 10, 15, 20, 50 years. What we see is the end result. What we don't see is the effort. What we have in TBRL is we have seen the effort. We have been the effort, by which now we are very proud to say that we have the capability to do whatever we are doing in a very compressed time frame. Technologies, which I will say that we are nowhere less than anybody else. And when we talk in terms of terminal ballistics, armament, if I restrict myself to only the technology areas that we are invested in, terminal ballistics I will define as something which happens at the target end. So we are not worried about how the projectile has been launched. Having launched and assuming that it has reached the right target, what will happen at the target end? So that is our area of work. Therefore, now if we talk in terms of the terminal end, we have a projectile which is coming with a velocity, with a mass, in a particular attitude, in a particular alignment. There is a target. A target could be anything. It could be a simple soil-based structure to a very fortified target, a bunker or a tank or an aircraft or anything. And when we have these two things, there is something called interface. So it is this interface which actually creates, which is the difference between the protection, survivability or defeat. So we are studying that interface. We are creating the damage mechanism for that interface. So, therefore, when we have now 3 points to study: the projectile, the target, and the interface. What happens when the interaction takes place? So these are the 3 events, and if we demonstrate, put it in the terms of timelines. For us, as I was just telling, I think somewhere in this discussion, that for us, 1,000 meters per second is a very slow speed. Generally, when we talk in terms of crash dynamics, we will say that we are testing the vehicle crash impact test at 20 meters per second, 25 meters per second. For us, 20, 25 meters per second, is years, if I put it in our time scale. So we need those kind of sensor systems which should be able to work in that time domain, which is normally in microsecond, sometimes in millisecond. Seconds we are not interested. I'll put it this way. So to have a phenomena designed for that, to understand the physics that goes behind it, when we talk in terms of an event which is happening in microsecond regime, particularly people who are working with the materials, they would agree that the material behavior in quasi-static condition and under this dynamic conditions, that's entirely different. You just cannot extrapolate the quasi-static values to the dynamic values that we interface, get that the interfaces. So understanding the physics of the phenomena at that event, and then translating it into in a tangible form, in a viewable form, with the help of the diagnostics. You have to understand what is actually happening if you have to improve either the penetrator or the target. Sometimes we want to protect the systems, and sometimes we want to defeat the best of the protected systems. So it's a cat and mouse game, and we have to play this game every day. It's a cycle. So for us, the damage mechanism is either the kinetic energy of the projectile, or it is the damage which is caused by the detonation energy, the chemical energy released by the explosives on the target or in the target. And these are basically, I'll say that the two primary defeat mechanisms that we are right now looking at. And the protection can be offered by the layering of targets, by you can say alternating the densities of the target, or you can say impedance mismatch, by creating voids, by making the structure very strong that, you know, whatever kind of impact forces you are impinged upon with, you are able to protect yourself against that. These are basically, I mean, in nutshell, these are the phenomena that are happening. In some part of the details, I think all my three colleagues, they would be discussing their respective problems that we are having today for collaboration. Now, the purpose of actually this kind of an MOU or a discussion with academic institute is we need to have the knowledge base. The technology without the fundamental knowledge or the repository, knowledge repository, is going to be a very short-term technology and will not suffice. It is akin to some kind of, I'll say, a manufacturing TOT where you can only manufacture, you cannot even repair. So that's no good in today's context. And so in order to build knowledge, particularly and it is applicable in any R&D field, more so in defense R&D, for two reasons. One, nobody shares. So whatever you get, you have to be extremely careful while going through it. And the second, why extremely careful is, the second is, why would I give you something which I have taken 20 years to develop, which has got huge commercial value, which has got huge security value? And therefore, we have to be a little judicious in actually using, even looking at the published literature. So, in defense technology, a knowledge which is developed within is the knowledge which is going to reside with us. And therefore, we need to have the knowledge base in the country. One institute, one university is not good enough. We have to have pooling with multiple people, harness the expertise of multiple establishments, multiple experts to develop the knowledge base in many areas. That is the area where we are looking for collaboration. And when we talk in terms of R&D, in any, I mean, by global standard, I think 5% success in R&D is considered extremely good. So even if we have to start with, we have a chance of 95%. I don't prefer to use the word failure in R&D. I say shortfall in performance. Even if we have 95% probability of shortfall in performance for some time initially, I think still we should go ahead with it. And that requires patience from both the sides. We also need to be patient. You also need to remain in. Sometimes, I mean, maybe in 30 years of research, maybe some people might not have delivered anything, but at least the knowledge that they have invested, they can at least tell this is not the right way to do things. That also is a value. It has to be valued. Somehow, I mean, we are missing that value. So, my request will be that the problems we have, you might not have worked on it, because this is something which might not have come in academic domain till now. But they are all driven by the fundamentals of sciences. They are nothing away from that. If we know the sciences, we can always apply ourselves to find a solution. We have to remain invested with it, spend a lot of time on it, and also be ready to face shortfall in performances, and repeatedly. Still remain committed and remain smiling, as I think Dr. Selvamurthy sir would agree that he would have also had the similar nightmares in his service career. And similar, Dr. A.K. Singh sir is there, and Gopal Bhushan ji is there. So all of us have had the same issues in our lifetime. And So we have to learn to live with these things and still remain invested. So knowledge base may not be there, but if we have understanding of the understanding of the science behind it, we can start. It may drive you a little out of comfort zone, but then that's how R&D is done. That's how if I say disruptive research can be done only by that. Disruptive research has never come out of a comfort zone, never in history, and not expected to be in future. So it has to be driven. We have to be driven out of our comfort zone and be ready to absorb a lot of delays, a lot of, I'll say the short, again, as I use the word shortfall in performances. We have to create infrastructure, we have to create facility, and when we say infrastructure also says you create human base, the skill base, the research base in the country. That has to be, and there has to be a continuity. It cannot be that if I am not getting results after 2 attempts or so, we leave it. So this has to be institutionalized, then only it can succeed. Otherwise, it will remain more of an MOU, it will remain more of a talking, and we have been doing it, and it's not the first MOU that we are signing. And I'm sure this is not the last MOU that we are signing. But to make it a more meaningful MOU, we need to convert it into reality. We have to move into high risk zones, no immediate dividends. I'm using these words very carefully. We are also ready for that. The faculty has to be ready. The institutions also have to be ready for that. So we have a very large number of options available for development. Many options are, we can discuss separately also. There are a number of development projects that we can take, study projects we can take. We can take the PhD students who can, after completing their coursework, they can take up a project related to defense problem, can work in the lab so that they get a first-hand view of how the R&D establishment works. MTech program students, after completing their coursework, they can do their project work. Even the internship students can do their semester. If you have a 1 semester in industrial training, they can also work there. So there are multiple options available. There are multiple schemes available with the government today, and also with the DRDO. So we can make use of any of those schemes. There is no limitation on that. It's only that we have to start moving. This is, I believe, is the best time that we can actually start engaging with industry. The government is promoting that industry academic institutes should come up with many more newer areas. There is no limitation on the funds. So let us identify the problems and start working on it. Identifying the problems, the faculty has to remain invested with the scientists, because in isolation, a problem statement given by either of us is not going to sustain. It has to be matched with the experience of the faculty, along with the problem of ours. It has to be broken down to some level where it can be solved in a finite time. We need to climb. If I have to climb the 7 stories. I cannot straight away. We are not Superman that we can jump on the 7th story directly. We have to go step by step. We have to learn to go step by step, and that is where patience is needed, and we need to build it. I mean, that's how it has to be there for a long-term sustenance. Otherwise, the technologies which are not built on strong foundations, we will not have sustainability of those. So let us attempt that. Let us try to identify the problem statements, break it down to smaller problems, which can be managed at academic level also, so that the students' curriculum is not affected, and results are something which we can later integrate. So these words, I once again thank all of you for giving us this opportunity, and I wish that the MOU will be very, very fruitful for both the organizations, DRDO or TBRL, as well as with the Amity universities, or group of Amity universities. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Dr. Prateek Kishore has very clearly defined what his aspirations from Amity or from any academic institution. So now this is for us to rise to the expectations of the nation, DRDO and TBRL. And we will prove, because Amity is different. Amity is unique in the sense the motivation, inspiration, and also the drive, enthusiasm our faculties have to work like our founder president, stretching themselves is the culture here. Like the other conventional universities who may be in comfort zone. May not be all, but many of them. So, but then here, the deliverable, timely delivery, everything is precise, and we monitor the sanction projects properly in terms of technical progress as well as financial, fiscal disciplines, how it is, the projects are moving. So we have that culture, as I mentioned to you earlier. That's every value for every file that is received a grant is given from Amity University to the letter and spirit with which you have spoken. And now I would request that Sony to make his presentation.
Actually, my presentations I did not check because I mainly talk on energetic materials.
Right.
So we work on explosives, development of new energetic materials, energetic binders. Those who are interested can interact with me because that is the area which is very narrow and generally academics doesn't have that. So I generally don't burden them to work in area. Somebody interested, like in Amity University, two faculty interacted with me. Haryana. So I given them that what are I'm looking for and what are the available things. So they will come up with things. Apart from that, anything related to polymer development or as a ingredient development for energy increasing composites. Any concept proposal is welcome from my side. My colleague, Dr. IPS Sandhu and
our chemistry.
Dr. Sony,
Yeah.
I would submit one thing.
Yeah.
For the convenience of all of us.
Yeah.
Just can you flag 2, 3, 4 research problems which you would like us to work, just to make things simple, because that will immediately connect some of the people, and then as they interact, they can expand the interaction. That would help you.
I'll just mail the presentation and then we'll. Meanwhile, my colleague will present and then I'll just.
Just one point I missed out. Sorry, that is, it has to be a two-way interaction, and we will request faculty members to visit the lab. And please coordinate. So Dr. Soni is coordinates from TBRL side as a single point of contact. So please plan your visit, and so that you see the facility, you see the phenomena, how it is actually what we are talking of. If you don't have worked on that, that will give you a fair bit of an idea what we are looking at, and then it will help us in identifying and breaking down the problems also to some manageable level. So I'll request all of you to please plan accordingly, and let us know. We will organize it.
Right.
The presentation.
I just want you are saying the response time.
Sorry?
The response time in microsecond or millisecond, but we can. But are you also interested in recovery times?
Recovery or in terms of?
Recovery of the same waves.
So it should transmit. It should transmit. After that, if it goes off, we are not concerned.
So some sensors.
Those kind of pressures that are going to come on the sensor, no sensor can ever survive in lifetime. So it will never survive. So there is no point in actually looking at the recovery. But before it fails, it must transmit. That is the only thing.
Some sensors we have a lot of silicon devices, the audio, and here also as you have seen, we can have the response time microsecond. Recovery time is also in some sensors in nanomaterial based. Response time microsecond, but recovery time in it maybe low.
No, it may not be able to transmit the data in that real time, in that time. So that may be a limitation.
Sir, I think you are talking about the how the sensor will come to back initial vision. That is a couple time. That should also be very fast. No, sir. Otherwise, my phenomena is over. A sensor is still going on giving the reading. That is not also not good.
That's something. If you take chemical activity sensor, it is a response.
Response time means first peak it should be in microsecond. Then it should within few milliseconds it should come to the rest of.
All our silicon-based sensor are microsecond. No problem.
Firing very close.
Sometimes the recovery time takes.
RC constant generally we are talking about. That should also be very low, sir.
That should be our.
Why my phenomena is over, but still it is showing some higher value. That is not a true value.
That can
Respected sir, I'm Dr. Pal Dinesh Kumar. Good afternoon to you all. I'm working as a technology director of ballistic evaluation in hypervelocity impact. As our respected director has brought up, I will cover some of the aspects in the area of materials and requirement of materials in the area of armament. Now, so in BEHI division, that is ballistic evaluation and hypervelocity impact division, I have a team of many young scientists and DRF, SRF. We also take many students every semester, about 8 to 10 BTech students, MTech students, and we are getting many PhDs. And I myself am getting 4 PhD students as a co-guide. So we are closely associated and collaborating with academia and industry partners for testing and development. Some of the areas I will highlight. It is little away from the routine academic research or the industry research what people do. So this is a little go beyond into the areas of armament. As our sir has told that the basic principles remain same, but we have to apply in a different domain, and especially in terms of time domain and the pressure domain. The domains are different. Material will behave differently in different pressure domains. So some of the areas I have listed here. These are not complete areas. I will request that those who are interested, they can visit our lab. It will give you more feel about different areas, and as our collaboration and cooperation progresses, we'll be able to identify more areas to work on. So some of the areas are ballistic evaluation and hypervelocity impact. So in ballistic evaluation, we are doing ballistic evaluation of protective systems like helmets, jackets, and other protective systems like armor plates, glass panels for armed forces, along with collaboration of armed forces and industry. So all types of protective systems we are testing ballistic testing. Ballistic testing involves firing with projectiles with small arms and firing with gas guns. Now hypervelocity impact is a different domain where we are doing launching projectile beyond 2000 meters per second, up to 5000 meters per second. You can imagine a projectile being launched at 5 kilometers per second. So here we are helping all our space programs, warhead development programs, all Gaganyaan hypervelocity impact support we are giving. The experiments we are carrying out, generating the data, design data for them. And we are also simulating the space debris impact, space particle impact for our protection vehicle shields of our spacecrafts, human space modules. Those areas are there. That involves hypervelocity impact. So these involves like characterization of materials under hypervelocity impact. Then characterize, as sir told that material behaves differently in quasi-static region and then in dynamic behavior. That is high strain rate behavior of the material is a different domain. Then the materials are all types of materials we are dealing. And the damage mechanism in materials needs to be predicted by simulation, calculation, using analytics. We are generating a lot of data. So AI ML is also playing a great role in these areas. So this is overall actually armament in our activity. So if you see the projectile impact, I use the. So if you see the ballistic impact, so this is the target and this is the projectile, and similarly this is the involved shape charge, and this is the fragments. Lot of fragments are generated. So different ammunitions, different armament devices will have this type of behavior, which are all related to high strain rate phenomenon of the material. In quasi-static, we do, so in quasi-static, if you see, in quasi-static and then dynamic variation. So I'll not go into much technical. What I want to say is that we have to actually shift our domain to high strain rate studies and dynamic behavior of material studies. So if you see the strain rate, actually, in quasi-static and in top region or the elastic plastic wave, the behavior changes as the strain rate changes. So the time scale, as sir was telling, the time scale, we are looking at microsecond, not millisecond. So in quasi-static and dynamic behavior of material, this is the difference actually. And we are also looking at, so in our division, we are able to launch projectile from few meter per second to few kilometer per second. You can just imagine the scale. Few meter per second, we can say all small arms bullet, they are all few meter per second. But if you launch with a gun, then it will be up till say 2000 meter per second with a single stage gas gun. And if you go to two-stage light gas gun, we are able to launch up till 5 kilometer, up till 7 kilometers per second. One more thing is the geometry. We can launch projectile of different shape, size, weight, mass. So that is another this one. So that is what is the requirement of modeling this kind of behavior. See, these are all transient behavior. Transient stresses comes into picture. So here you can see this projectile and this is the target. There can be multi-target also. So the mainly the elastic plastic behavior, the stress which is generated, how the incident stresses are transmitted, reflected, and how they are making the damage profile on the target. That needs to be modeled analytically and simulated. It can be simulated using various softwares. Again, here I will not. So this is, starting with the basic stress strain curve, the strain hardening behavior of the material, the elastic behavior of the material in the plastic wave velocity or elastic wave velocity. These things play a very important role. How you are trying to distribute the stress and mitigate that particular stress, which is coming at short duration. The amplitude is very high and the duration is very short. So how you will distribute? You are having a single layer target or multi-layer target, space target, or different impedance is that. All that is very important. So again, here same thing. So I come to some research area.
Dinesh, just a minute. I'll just interrupt for a moment and see what. Can you go back to the previous one? Yeah. Anyway, no. Any of these stress strain curves, anywhere. Yeah. Now, see, this looks very simple. I mean, these are all 8th class when we start studying Hooke's law, and Hooke's law always is the Hooke's law. But the way it hooks in armament is different. So we have to, when we start talking in terms of the rate of deformation, the material property changes. We are doing simulations day in, day out. We are using all the tools that are available, all the simulation tools that are available, and we pick up the material property from the library. Now, the material that has been prepared, the library that has been prepared is for the material for which that software developer had worked. Our designs are based on that material. Do we have that material? Simplest way is to classify a steel is what we very colloquially called as a mild steel. I'll call it as say T20. Can we have the same properties of C20? What that code writer, are we aware what the code writer had and what we have? And what would be its effect on our performance? Now, this is just a problem to start with. Somebody has worked there, has got huge amount of material library, has given us certain library. What about others? What about the material, the steel that is made available in the country for manufacturing? And that is where that is the difference between a good design, a good product, and a product which is not performing to the level. And this needs quantification. This needs huge amount of experiments under different strain rates, whatever strain rate he has shown there, because this looks to he has drawn a curve in a very simplistic manner, I'll say. But a person can actually spend his lifetime to generate this curve for one material under one heat treatment conditions. One material, one heat treatment condition. So you can imagine the amount of effort that is needed to develop the material data bank.
So Mona Lisa, you should work on click chemistry using this new materials development and so on. She requests a click chemistry solution.
Yeah, so this will require a lot of physics people along with mechanical engineering.
Material constants actually available in our country. So gradually we are taking up this mission of making our own material constant. So that under Atmanirbhar Bharat and self-reliance, we have our own standards and our own material constants, our own handbooks.
Where he had shown that N, M, all these parameters. Now all these N and M, they look to be a very simple number. But to derive that N and M, which actually determines the material characteristic, it requires huge amount of experiments, good amount of understanding. Then only you can actually develop this NM. That is where actually, and it can be a good PhD topic. If somebody can do for one material, he should be given up. It is worth a PhD.
Exactly, that what I.
So we unnecessarily actually try to hype the problem, scale up the problem. That is not required. Let us look at the smaller picture. Somebody should be able to integrate. Let not everybody start looking at a mesoscale.
I think someone right now wants to connect, that they can freeze it, that they will be in touch with them on this.
Yeah, all these points what he is writing, K epsilon N. He has drawn very simplistically, I'll say.
So, this particular curve can go like this. So the area under the...
the curve can go between this horizontal line to this slant line. This curve can be anywhere. And that's how the property varies.
I think the very first slide that you showed shows the lots of problem statements.
Yeah.
That can be really worked out into technology projects and collaborate with you. And can I ask you, what is the library that you have on the materials?
As of now, we are working. We have got library for 3 of the materials that we use. I won't name them. But we are now in the process of building the library for 12 of the materials that is of regular use to us. That is, we are, and all other materials slowly we will build, because these are the 12 materials of interest to us. So we have targeted that in next 3 years we will have the material library for these 12 materials.
Actually, I wanted to make things more simpler. But I said, you just say that what kind of a research which you feel the academics can do. If you spell out, and then slowly we can grow on that, work on that, and, go up the ladder. Let's say the library generation. Directly, you are very rightly, spelling out. If someone is there, you would like to generate libraries for more and more materials. And this could be one of the things which can be, discussed if someone is interested. Go ahead.
And a metallurgist can actually work on, if it's a metal, he can actually work on the high temperature characteristic also. Right now, what we have not added here is the high temperature parameters. Because the temperature characteristic we have not added. You can add temperature characteristic, it becomes another problem set.
I'll reiterate your statement, the kind of research problems you have. We may not be in a position to really contribute at that level, but certainly when we break down the problem at certain point, we can contribute in that. And I think we have to strike balance and work out.
Actually, if you go back to your first slide, or the second slide, first or the second slide. See, if you look at these,
interact also in between.
All the bulleted points, if you look at, they actually can be broken down to various problem statements. With the respective PIs, we can actually work out the problem statements. I mean, if you look at this point,
Yeah.
all the bulleted points, actually we can break down depending on what can be done under what kind of a time frame, because we have to also look at, the finite duration of the projects. So, and define the problems accordingly.
I think after a presentation, we circulate it. Let him go ahead.
Okay.
That they must have taken.
I will go a little ahead, sir, so we can discuss more.
In between, you want to ask any clarification or anything, you can also.
Sir, like you have a library like for materials, where you have to be collected data from simulation or collected data from
Experiments.
Experiment, and large number of experiments has to be done.
Okay, sir. And did you validate this from simulation, because you have a simulation of this thing? So this material exists, or this material we have?
Otherwise, I mean, in DRDO, that's a difference between academic world and DRDO. I have to be tangible. I have to be always aware of what is available. Otherwise, I said I am only working for 12 materials. I am not working for any material which is of no use to me, or for which I don't find an application in armament.
You can work on graphene. Graphene is a very interesting material.
Again, as I said, if it falls in my interest domain, I cannot open the Pandora's box. I cannot go on doing academic research. That is not my domain. I have a very focused requirement. If this material is of interest to me, it's okay. If any other material, academically, we can always support in terms of experimentation. But if it is not of interest to me, I will not invest anything on that.
Sir, like Sunil,
how is the tactical application of these material decided? Who decides that? Who decides that these materials? This is
we decide as a warrant designer. We decide.
And the user end, they don't come in.
They have to give the requirements.
Yeah, of course, that's what I'm saying.
So they give the requirement. Based on that requirement, we see what kind of material, what kind of a system will meet that requirement.
So, sir, as per my understanding, as a academician, we have to give a data like this material. Can you develop this material, making a composition? So it's like a graphene, CNT, again carbon material kind of composition. So if you give this type of data, like this is the specification, this is the stress, this is the strain rate, this is the density, and this is the kind of properties, like other properties, corrosion, all these things. If you give this type of data, we will try to do our best by simulation as well as by experiment, like we produce some materials.
I'll rather suggest we go the other way around. For the known material, let us first develop the constants and then try the new material.
Okay.
Because new materials, if I start developing the material constant and I don't have the material, what do I do with that? My problem is, even if I have a very exotic material and I have only a gram of it,
Or if we are importing, then it is of
then it's of no use to me. So that is why, I mean, that is the bridge we have to close. I am not interested in every exotic discovery that has been made in the world today. If I do that, I will be absolutely aimless, and which is what I don't want to do.
Some of these problems are posed in the IDEX as well, or what? I mean, some of these problems.
Sorry?
Some of these problems, the area, I think the Brigadier Tiwari was asking who decides this and where do you get the ideas from, and so the other side.
IDEX is primarily for indigenization of an already existing thing. I mean, indigenous solution of an already existing thing. IDEX is not generally for an innovation. Innovation you have to do, then you can go through TDL. But that's again at a product level and system level. What we are talking is in what goes in that product and system. I mean, I can always provide a solution like I think one faculty mentioned about graphene or carbon nanotube based composites. I can always give you the same answer with steel, but I would be paying penalty somewhere. Is that penalty acceptable? If it is, why should I break my head on CNT? I'll rather go with a mitti. I mean, see, it's a question of choices. If a mitti can do the job and I can carry that mitti in a weapon, I'll rather work with mitti. Why should I work with steel? So if I need certain properties of steel or certain properties of CNT, and therefore I'm ready to invest in CNT. So it's always requirement driven, constraint driven. No technology is absolute in itself. Never it can be. It is all technologies are marriages of compromises. We have to understand what compromise we have to do. Somewhere weight is a penalty, somewhere volume is the penalty, somewhere performance is the penalty, somewhere temperature is the penalty, something is the penalty. So it always has to be, everything has to be under constraint. This world is under constraints. So everything is under constraint, nothing is constraint free.
So quickly I will explain this. This is very important. I'll just take few seconds. If you see the x-axis and y-axis for any material where I'm doing impact actually. So the we generally call B50, whether the material, whether target will perforate or it will not perforate. 50% threshold. So the critical diameter of the projectile is in y-axis, and you can see if the velocity increases, this is in kilometer. So we are here actually. So and this is the ballistic curve. We call this a ballistic curve. So above that the material, so if the diameter increases above that curve, it will fail, and below that it will survive. So this type of thing can be done for all materials, all target and projectile. So it is a cat and mouse game, as I told. A target and projectile game. So it can be a small projectile or it can be a big projectile of any shape, size, spherical, cuboidal, cube, or any type. So that is the game actually here. So I quickly come to some few areas. These not all actually. So I invite those who are interested to come to my lab so we can discuss more areas. More ideas will come. But as I told, we are also doing ballistic testing of protective systems like helmets, jackets, and we are also building, trying to make our own standard. So, like for bulletproof jacket, we made our own standard. For another glass, like bulletproof glass, we already made our own standard, BIS standard. So we are in continuous collaboration with BIS, Bureau of Indian Standard, for making, because we are generating a lot of test data. And those test data we are using to make our own Indian standard, so that we are not dependent on any other foreign standards. Most of those material constant and standards are not applicable in Indian scenario, many cases. So here, like this is a test rig where this is the head neck assembly, where the stiffness of the neck and also the brain material. Both these we are actually simulating with the experimental study with a test rig. We are firing various types of calibers on this helmet and generating data of the stiffness of the neck and the impact of the brain material, because it is a floating material. So we are also into a lot of artificial biomaterials like brain simulant material, skin, and bone, skull material. So we are also involved many academia for study and simulation of
MIT can also latch on when he says the testing of the impact of this blast on either bone or the brain tissue or hollow cavity anywhere, because that had been their requirement. We can contribute.
Ballistic and blast.
I think Dr. Sandhu would say that.
Actually, so that is one area where I mean the material development actually is will be of great help. Typically a brain simulant material or a bone simulant material, because as of now there are certain things available, but we are not very sure about its fidelity. I mean, what is its closeness to a brain simulant? So
but do we need to develop our own material which simulates the brain tissue?
Nobody gives it.
But certain type of mannequin which can simulate.
Very
but they are available.
They are available, but
because why I know in case of
they are not simulating the brain. They are only simulating the
mechanical dummies.
They are mechanical dummies. Yeah.
No. I tend to disagree with you on that. There are, but certainly testing the impact of the blast wave. Not the projectile. They do have.
So if they have, they are not selling one. Maybe
they do have.
Second, if whatever they are selling is prohibitively
maybe. But
and single shot devices, if it fails in the single shot, then it is not worth it. So we need to have a low cost solution. Maybe a human dummy, which a low cost human dummy, which even if it goes bad,
these are the areas where we can start working with them. Because in times to come, slowly we can, generate such materials. These are the things.
See, one is the skull bone, the bone structure. Then you have the fluid, the cerebrospinal fluid.
Then
which acts
tissue.
like a buffer. Then comes the actual brain.
Brain.
So how do we bring similar situation in the experimental model for evaluation? This is what we need to develop. The
Experimental
material
as well as
which will simulate bone.
theoretical as well as experimental.
So one is
These are all
modeling.
long time
by
investments, a
theoretical.
long time efforts. I mean, it cannot happen in 1 year time, 2 years kind of a.
Exactly.
It will take maybe 5, 10 to 15 years, but look at the commercial value tomorrow. A bulletproof jacket today, it is being tested with a, what is that called? Plasticine. You can actually test with a human dummy. And even you can actually put it in the crash impact. You are importing, and therefore you are only subjecting it to a limit. You don't want your dummies to go bad. One dummy costs more than, in double digit of crores. So how can somebody afford to have a dummy which is going bad? Even at generating a dummy in the country, making an anthropomorphic test dummy, if somebody can take up, and we are ready. I mean, we are ready to take on TDF or any other.
That's the things.
That is something. It's a human. It's a complete system.
We haven't tried it. Sir, I am telling the issue. What is that?
There is only one firm in the world who supplies. There is only one firm, and the wait period is 18 months. 18 months. There is only one firm in the country, world. This can be a very big project for the startup, for the boys.
That include everything, material, design, economics, sensor, electronics, simulation.
Looking at the dummy, you don't feel like doing trials.
That's why
It looks so real. It looks so real.
But we can stick only to the skull instead of the
Where are you
bone.
using?
No, sir, slowly, depending upon the organ, they will need all the parts.
For the test the response on the humans in case of an underbelly blast. But then we are always calibrating the level of blast so that the dummy should not get saturated. Armored vehicles, all mine protected vehicles and others. That is the standard way of testing. I mean, we are putting a lot of sensors and then we are also putting dummy. But first trial is always done with the sensor, so we are very sure that my dummy is safe with me.
नहीं तो एनिमल्स डाल दिया करो.
नहीं, वो अलाउड नहीं है सर. आप इनमास से अप्रूवल दिलवा दो, हम डाल देंगे, लेकिन इनमास से अप्रूवल नहीं है.
It is important to generate data here because what happens is, I'll tell you, when the bullet hits the helmet may not perforate, it may not penetrate the skull. But what happens, the impact which it has created, that will actually create trauma, brain trauma, because the brain material is floating. That is one injury. So traumatic brain injury is one. This one. The other one is neck. By stiffness, actually what happens, the neck, the force which is coming, it goes on the neck. So that neck injury is another thing. So these two major injuries very important to understand before developing a standard for testing a helmet. So that is what we are doing here. Now the stiffness of the neck actually it is looks like a simple mechanical spring like, but calculating that stiffness of that mechanical spring to human
medical science, it's a pure medical. We can only fire bullets, but we need a lot of medical support.
Not only
we are taking on board
angle, बंदा यूं है यूं.
Taking on board, we are also taking on board AIMS, Bilaspur doctors actually for carrying out such studies.
Bilaspur, AIMS, Delhi. So we are now trying to take help of them because that is beyond us. We can only fire, we can only create a test condition, but physiological assessment we can't do.
Here, there can be a lengthier discussion where we can, contribute.
Same is the case here, sir, with injuries related to, the jacket, the other protective system on other parts of body. So, lot of like soft armor, hard armor, and so these material development is a challenge actually, and of course geometry also. Now, here I am showing actually liquid armor. This is the nano particle based liquid material. When impact takes place, the particles come together and harden and absorb and dissipate because of large surface area, the stress gets dissipated. So this is a challenge actually. It's called shear thickening fluid. Lot of research is going on in this area, but still a deployable product has still not come out. So it is a academic, industry and research challenge as of now.
And here I think Basant, you should now look at.
Here you include, we have lot of simulation for academic and.
Yes, so this is one area where you can largely get involved. It will also involve AI, ML, everything you can, all analytics, simulation, everything you can.
Right.
Now, if you see shear thickening fluid also, what we are doing, we are trying to convert that into, different type of product where we can control the property of the material. So it can be converted into a pad. It will do the same phenomenon. It will absorb the impact.
So we try to make this shear thickening fluid by fabric. Then we have to be impediment of these molecules so that.
Yeah, it has a process of making. So we are making at present we are making our own shear thickening fluid.
We are making the fluid, but ultimately what you say is correct. I mean, it has to be impregnated with some fabric, and then because otherwise it cannot take its own shape.
Yes.
So you have to give what you are saying is correct. It has
making some mesh line and putting like this.
Yes, it has to be done that way.
So a lot of optimization is possible in that way. So now, as I told, we have taken up some challenge of actually developing our own material content, Johnson two constitutive model and failure models of material, where you see A, B, and N, C, here temperature T of variables. I think so
5 variables, 1000 experiments.
Yeah, so you take one material. So we have taken up challenge of about 6 materials to go in the first phase. Then we include the next phase material. So this is nothing but simple sheet of pins and bar. People know the UPM using
Just one correction. Before you go, can you just discuss about your nuclear communication tomorrow?
Sir, I am Dr. Lakmander. We have a meeting of nuclear science and technology. We have bachelor and post-graduation program in nuclear science, even PhD program also. And we have all type of the detectors where we can measure the radiation level and also what type of the radiation is there.
We may not be the right lab.
No, but he is working on the material. So we have like chemical exposing material. So we have the expertise in radiological and nuclear material weapons.
We are not. That is not our area of.
TBRL.
No, we are that. We are not. We are only the chemical part. The rest of the BRN part, we are not there. So we are not a right agency. Maybe we are, but maybe some other detectors and all. We don't know. I mean, if it has a dual use, but otherwise not. We are not in that area.
We are only for the nuclear.
We are only into our explosive and related warhead technology.
We have very good lab where if you want to test the material, what type of the material.
We can make use of the lab facilities that we can see. I mean, if something can be used, but only for our conventional type of applications, like explosives, materials, any other things that we can. Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, we have identified a problem with TBRL, so let us know I would like to know the specific topic of interest when I'm having some ideas.
I will present. I'll take it. I got a presentation. I will present.
Yeah.
So anybody is interested in taking up any material and working on their constant simulation, quasi-static testing or high strain rate testing, they are actually welcome.
This is a purely academic problem, and we can do it.
Yeah. Now, I'll not go into it. I'll rush actually. So some areas are some opening up areas, new areas are there. They are looking at negative stiffness or say negative Poisson ratio. In the areas of absorbing energy of materials. Some of these details, more details will be presented by another colleague. But for blast application, what I am presenting here is of for point impact or specific area is very less. Now, as I told, not only material, the fabrication method and the geometry also plays very important role. Now, because of advances in computer, there is a possibility of working on various geometries of the structure which you are fabricating. So that can be hexagonal structure or honeycomb structure. This kind of structure can play important role in absorbing the impact. Now, this is a simple case study and actual case study we carried out, where 3D printed this type of structure where it gets locked. If there is impact, it will get locked. So we studied this with simple UPM and high strain rate, and also by simulation in a simulation material, where the material displacement and force are simulated. How it will absorb the impact energy.
Sign it now.
So using modern techniques of manufacturing.
Tomorrow is the carnival, like people have to go also. So we'll sign we'll go ahead with this. Then we will request separately individual groups. So we will make some small groups. Maybe that we can plan.
I mean, maybe a group of physics people. Sorry,
but no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Sorry. Maybe one group of mechanical engineering and material science people, particularly for material development.
He is the chief of mechanical engineering, and he is
materials. Both the groups together, because it has to be an integrated.
What we can do, because of the convocation, they are leaving. So quickly, at least all the scientists, they can say in 3, 4, 5 minutes, so that quickly.
Canvas, smart materials.
Yeah.
So I'll just conclude. So what I was showing previously was that that how the structure get logs, we can study the energy absorption.
Then you come to that last slide. Come to that.
This is the future scope where what I'm telling, the different geometries also play very important role. So we can do the optimization of geometries, and this is the smart materials also, where different types of sensors can be developed for pressure measurement or impact measurement,
shock, honeycomb.
So there is a lot of scope in this here.
So these are all at this point in time they are academic, because to convert it into any kind of a defense application, there is any other material like a steel, it can be for defense as well as for any other material. So all these sciences at this point in time can be taken up as an academic project. Good database can be generated, knowledge can be generated, and subsequently the defense application is always you can always scale it at any point in time.
Sir, I would like to add here, there is one material, self-filling material, especially it is a composite. We have used the aluminum alloy in the nitol wire. So how we arrange the nitol wire in an aluminum composite kind of this? There is a two big advantage. One, definitely.
Although you can load your presentation.
Definitely, stealth is close to steel, and it is the self-crack. Suppose there is a crack, and it is automatically, because there is heat, automatically healing like this. So where like one important area we will work jointly, because here a lot of 3D metal sheeting kind of fabrication facilities we need to make this material. So because this fulfills so many objectives that we mentioned here.
If we have a project where we need to have certain equipment to be specifically need that project. There is a provision of funding in all our projects. That's not a limitation. If a machine is required, if an equipment is required, a diagnostic or a processing equipment is needed, there's not an issue at all. Because we know that unless you make a proto, how can you actually prove it? Whatever investment it comes,
self-healing material.
Yeah.
Basically, self-filling means they are classified various ways. But using the alloy with aluminum, magnesium, nitol, your titanium bias kind of these things, and their arrangement, different layer arrangement, vertical arrangement, cross.
I think we can work it out. So you work out a proposal. We can discuss. Sandu, you be fast and come only to the points.
So, why are we presenting this solar demo? So, sir, we are not the exposure and exposure powers. Like we are mentioning, exposure power, it came from the BOD process detonator, pumped at 7,000 meter per second. We convert in the kilometer, 5,000 kilometer per hour speed something. This is the reaction rate becomes exposure. That's why they create lot of energy in very small time, and that creates the damage. So damage is only created by this type of pulse. When the explosion occurs, so we are getting high pressure pulse And that will be the main damage causing the medium. So we can see that the damage, it can damage the structures, human bodies. So this is the major issues are like landmines. So where when the person foot on the head, foot over the head, foot on the mine, it get detonated and we can get a severe injury. So we are working on the DRT is working on this, and many countries are working on it how to protect the soldier from this type of injury. Another major injury, the mine tractor vehicles also. So generally people are using lot of anti-vehicle mines also. Although issue is that sir, in armed forces there is some rules they can use this type of mine, but now the anti-social animal people, sorry, not animal. So they are using lot of other methods also. They are not sticking to that standards also. Like in anti-person mine, there is a standard that it should be non-metallic, this much of the exposure base. But the person, the non-social person, they are putting lot of quantity exposure. So that whatever we are designing, that is will not work. So in addition to this, so the blast wave, we have the other type of damage like the fragments also. Because all warheads and other systems are having the casing, and they are not putting the intentionally fragments. So that will also create a lot of injuries. So this is a major injury in case of blast explosion, because the blast decay very quickly with the air, but it will travel up to long distance and can create damage. And then we have the underwater blast also, where the blast becomes more severe, approximately 50 times more than the air blast, because due to the medium density. Water is very dense, so we are getting very high pressure there. So this is a damage in the water. So what is the damage parameter? Like we have mentioned in the blast conductor, we have the main blast parameter peak or pressure, that is the pressure above the atmosphere. We are all able to withstand this atmosphere pressure. Slightly above the pressure of this atmosphere pressure will create the injuries. Like even 1 bar pressure above the atmosphere pressure will damage your ear. So it can be damaged by pressure, then what is the duration, how long it will apply over the particular target, that will also the consideration. Then the total force, that is the area under the car, that is the main criteria. Then I mentioned the other parameter is the fragments. No. So as we can protect from all these things as a blast structure, then the ground shock will also come. If somebody is sitting inside the structure, your components are inside the structure, that will be get damaged by this type of vibration also, that is some strong vibration due to the ground wire. Then in underwater, phenomena gets changed. In addition to primary pulses I shown here, like here, we are getting secondary pulse due to the pulsation of the bubble that is created inside the water. So here we are getting not a single pulse, we are getting multiple pulses. Of this also, again, due to the finite volume boundaries, the pressure where the first pressure is when reach to the surface, it gets reflected back also again to the target. So this way our target gets loaded with the multiple pulses. So then the acceleration, as I mentioned, the structure deformation is another parameter which will create the damage. So to protect all these things, we generally talking about the blast mitigation. Here our aim is to just do something so that we can reduce the damaging effect of the blasts or fragments. So aim is just reduce the pressure and increase that duration, the rise time, because the pressure, this blast wave which will rise. Why we are talking about the sensor with high response time? Because this rising within few microseconds from 0 to some high value, whatever the depending on the quantity was closer. So we want to reduce the level also, and as well as the rise, the loading time, so that the system can respond to this loading. So here is method, different method in the literature. Generally, they are divided into passive mitigation and the active mitigation. Passive mitigation, as I mentioned, one is a very method impedance mismatch. We can use different layers of the material to do. Another is a protective sacrificial layer, like we have mentioned here. The mostly porous materials are coming in this category, where we can put them, like we have shown the aluminium, honey, foam. Then we have the geometrical arrangement. Like most of the you see the anti-mine tractor vehicle, they have a V-shaped hull over that, so that we can divert the energy of the blast sometimes, or some blast wave destructor like blast ball we can put outside the building. But these are not always possible to protect the structure, because like blast ball, it has some height. Blast can go up and then we construct again also like that. So this is the issue with when we are talking about the blast mitigation. Some people are quoting the active method also, where they say if something is coming, I can pull. So that may have some, but it has some issue because the response time will be very high. We need a direction, we don't know blast from which direction is coming, and then
just give the breadth so that then we will have
So sir, all these, whatever we are talking about, Prof, they have all these applications. These are different protect structure people are using, wood anti-mine and protective suits, so vehicles are there, baskets are there, our buildings are there, glasses are there, and your even building doors are also required for some explosive storage buildings also there. So like we are talking about the, can take a simple from the wood. When we start working, that time they are talking about the mine with 28 gram explosive. So they develop some wood and we test the wood. It was passing with 28 gram explosive. We have some criteria to evaluate the wood. But later on, army bring the mine from the they capture from the Pakistan area. They say this we want to test with this wood mine. When we test with that, it totally fails because our mine at one NATO standard 28 gram should be the explosive. They have the 35 gram explosive. Even 7 gram of explosive totally change the scenario. So our total all good fails. Still now we are struggling with getting a wood which can provide the protection to the soldier. Here we are not saying that it should not be any injury. They say that injury should be in the lower level so that it can be recovered. So this way, another application is I like mentioned fuels and electronics. We want to protect when while launching or impact or drop also. Check the bunkers also. Bunkers have another problem. They are not loaded with a blast or some fragment. Sometimes the whole projectile can impact over that. That is another scenario where that need to protect from that scenario. So underwater structure I mentioned. So application, if we go for some large mitigation material, so we can enhance the performance of our existing test facilities because TBRL has very small tank. So if we conduct that trial due to explosive boundaries, we get the multiple valves. So if we put some material, it will get better solution. So what is our requirement? Like we are mentioning material, so there are a number of material put in the literature, but they are all are mostly academic application only, not to exactly. They have some product also, but that product will be only valid to particular scenario. Now explosive power is daily increasing, so scenario is changing, so we need enhanced protective system also. So it means we need to need more and more better material. So like so many mentioned material, mentioning like carbon nanotube and other things. But when we are talking about this application, we need bulk quantity. It's very difficult to get these type of material in bulk quantity also. Another, this should be withstand to harsh condition. Like sir I mentioned, the upstream material like the nectar, stiffness, they are also very good. They are potent. So we want to work on all these type of materials. We can absorb more energy. And then some techniques also. Sometimes we cannot be put single material, but we can do some techniques also. Like sir as morning mentioned, we want to go to the science behind this. Still we are experimentally doing some testing. And the literature applications are also mostly on the experimental database, not the theoretical value. How they are approaching that. So we want to understand the phenomena that by theoretical calculation or by simulation also. So that's all from my side.
Separate visit, then we come there. Directly said we put mechanical engineering, physics, some chemistry also. And some engineering aspects, electronics. We put them together and discuss on one thematic area, like blast mitigation. Itself is one area.
One area. I mean,
there's so many simulation, modeling, computer science.
And do you differentiate blast and shock wave उधर के दोनों को combine एक term में चला?
सर आर्मर दोनों हाई प्रेशर वेव्स हैं पर शॉक वेव जनरली ली जाती है जिसका स्टेप फंक्शन होता है तो ब्लास्ट में इट विल बी क्विकली डिकेइंग exponential decaying. This is the one of the definition they have mentioned. And the second, blast wave can only be generated by the explosive. Shock wave can be moving generated by the high velocity of object also.
So we will now have the MOU signing and we'll have survey some other time. We have a meeting at 4 o'clock. Yeah. Basant.
Yes,
So we should now quickly act on this.
sure, sir.
And we will also have a coordination committee, joint coordination, like a steering committee, which will monitor the progress, how much we have moved forward. So there will be a pressure on both the systems to deliver. So Neeraj, you should send us MTech defense technology students, MTech students. जय साहब आगे जय साहब because I think he's other people from other campuses. So this is a beginning of a very strong partnership between TBRL, DRUO, and it's just extremely. So thank you.
Last year our students.
Just moment.
Sorry, last year our
Just
this year also.
We are now, I mean, our initiative is manage about 50 people, 50 students at a time. We are 80 students के batches में आप भेजना up to 50 we can manage because more than that becomes unmanageable. Becomes unmanageable at range. And we don't have a place where I can address 50 people at a time other than our auditorium.
We have the Gopal.
It's an honor to get from you.
Yes, it's an honor for me, my dear Prateek.
Thank you, sir.
One day you will be chief of DRDO. One day you will be chairman DRDO and secretary.
I think that's too much of a shock actually.
Very few people of your caliber. Where is Gopal?
Minister is coming.
Hello, sir.
हमसे बात हुई है
कॉन्फ्रेंस में बुला
Thank you. Good. The last event you had.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we'll have one group photograph.
हम कब कर रहे हैं हाँ ठीक है मेरा प्रॉब्लम मेरे लिए यही हो जाता है कि आज मैं कमिट कर दूं कल को अगर नहीं होता है ये कहने में भी मुझे ही बुरा लगता है कि मैं आई कैन नॉट नहीं इफ आई एम देयर इन स्टेशन आई विल डेफिनेटली कम नो डाउट
नहीं यहाँ
Yes.
So we will come to someone. Your lab we have finished. Sanam, you wanted to say something about your project you was making.
We can have collaborate.
Just briefly you can say.
Impressive introduction and sentiment.
Gopal is tribe over here. So take photo in this. Sorry.
सोनी साहब ने बड़ी हेल्प करी है हमारी
अभी तक शुरू किया है
फिलहाल तो की है यहाँ तक आने के लिए बहुत
goodwill.
Yes, sir.
आपने दिख रहा है ओ अच्छा नीरज सिन्हा उसके दीदी अच्छा 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 हाँ he was there
Okay.
Good, Sony. See you.
Thank you.